So August the 19th, not the 12th. I forgot to update that. And as usual, let's go ahead and get started with our prayer. Just closing our eyes and relaxing our bodies and inviting our mentors, spiritual guides of this group to be here with us, the higher beings, and the ones who wants to learn with us. Dear Brother Jesus, as we gather here today to learn from the Spirit teachings, from your loving message, and from each other's life experience, we ask you please to come beside us now. Lead us on our study today and the days ahead of us and through the time when our mind cannot cope. Help us to find peace, inner peace, and calming inner thoughts. You hold us safe, Jesus, and please do the same for this group. Every member of this group, even the ones who are not here with us today. Do the same for our mentors, for our family members, our houses, relatives, and all of those crossing our mind right now, as well as all of those in need. And so be it. All right. So, guys, I saw this video. It's a short video this week, and that made me think about this group and all the things that we discussed during the our meetings, and at the end of the day, the lesson is always the same, that we have been talking about it. Love is the only way forward, and our role is really to promote this ambient, to promote this learning that at the end of the day will help creating a loving world. So I hope you guys can hear the sound. Let me know. So it's very touching video. It's a lovely one, but I do not know if you guys could read the subtitles, but it says when we are connected, then we start healing. So I hope one day, man, we'll finally understand that we are the tutors of this creation, and as we do our job well, then we not only help creating a loving world, but also we help each other's evolution. I mean, this creation is so dynamic. We are not the only one in the path of evolution. So all the living beings are also in that path, and we are here to help them in that path. But it's not just one way it's like two ways. As we do it, as we help them, they also help us a bunch. So, as a matter of fact, I just recall that the book of Job, I put it over here, tell us that humans must live in harmony with nature and seek to learn from its wise and mysterious ways. And then exactly as it says with the Bible words, but ask the beasts and they will teach you, the birds of the air and they will tell you, or the plants of the earth and they will teach you, and the fish of the sea will declare to you. And then that's the question, as we walk together on this path of evolution, who is the guardian? Who does support who? So it's so easy to understand that we both support each other, right? All the living beings and the humans. So just something for us to open our session today, our meeting. This is a second part for a discussion about the book, The Messenger. I was checking on some of the questions that people normally have about these books, and one of them is whether or not those books, if they are based on true story. And the answer is yes, they're all based on true stories, especially the first book, Astro City, is based on a real life experience of this Dr. Andre Luiz. And all those stories, they're told by himself. So Andre Luiz lived this his life, quite as well, quite as we all do. And after this gastrointestinal problem, then he does not resist, he does not survive, and he dies out of it. So the following books after Astro City, The Messengers, etc., they're also based on facts that Andre Luiz witnessed. He learned from those facts and passed those learnings onto the medium Chico Xavier with the intent of warning us about the need to focus on our spiritual journey, on our moral education, so we can prevent doing or repeating the same mistakes, and that probably we have been doing for a long time, and becoming stagnant in our evolution, in our path towards evolution. And as well as the other intention he had was to help us grow spiritually. So the sequence to the previous book, Astro City, Spiritual Journey, is, the next one is exactly the one that we are talking about today, the book of The Messenger. And this book specifically tells the story of a group of workers from Nosso Lar, or Astro City. And those workers, they are better known as the messengers. So their mission is to come to Earth. In that book, their mission is to come to Earth on a rescue, mission to assist people who are to fail in their lives, forgetting the planning they made and heading their destinies towards a great suffering. So Andre Luiz, which is the main character, of course, joins this group of messenger spirits led by the other important character named Aniceto, who then sets out for Earth to follow this unfolding, or to follow the unfolding of a mission that is in danger of failing. And that mission was about the creation of a spiritual work that eventually would connect the two worlds, the spiritual realm and the physical world. So in the process, this group also face, each character, they will also face their own dramas, their own issues and, challenges. But together they dedicate themselves to taking care of three, how can I say, proteges, three other fellows, whose story are kind of intertwined. So, and we are going to talk about some of them today. So one of those fellows is Otavio. Leda will talk about his story. He's a young medium who did not fulfill the plan of his mission. In his mission, the other fellow is Isidoro, is a leader of a spiritist house, and Fernando. Fernando is like an entrepreneur responsible for financing the whole project. So Otavio, Isidoro, Fernando, they are spirits in the book, but then the whole thing is talk about his story when they were their story when they were incarnated, and how they fail, the reasons why they fail, and this kind of stuff. Okay, so we saw that. That's the trailer. We passed that, the introduction in the book, facts about the book, and we talk about those astral cities, the introduction by Emmanuel, and we talk about this too. We talk about renewal, and then we stop here at the messenger center. So like I said, in the past meeting, this the center of messengers that is located in the astral city is kind of a department of the communication ministry, and that department is dedicated to not only produce things like consoling letters, but also that department is responsible for is dedicated to communications between the incarnated people in the spiritual realm. The other function of that department is also promotes the education of mediums. It is like a training center for mediums and, people that will eventually work in this kind of missions, help with the communication or connection between the two, the physical and the spiritual realms. This department also is responsible to hold important information, recordings, facts from our lives. So, for example, if you remember in the Astro City movie, the first movie, Andre Luiz, he goes to that department to talk to someone because he wanted to contact with his family, and then someone guided him to show him, who actually was still keeping him in his in their mind. So, for example, in there, Andre Luiz finds out in one of those monitors right here in this picture, who actually said sincere prayers for him, if you remember well. So in there, he became aware that only 2 people were praying for him. So that's the summary of that chapter, that is called At the Messenger Center. So it describes the functions of the Center of Messengers in Astro City and warns about the causes of the failure of many mediums and indoctrinators. Being indoctrinators, the folks responsible to dialogue to dialogue with the spirit that is, talking through the medium. So Tobias is one of the characters of the book. In this chapter, Tobias talks about the nature and importance of the work carried out at the institution, which prepares living letters. By living letters, they talk about the mediums and the indoctrinators sent to Earth with specific missions. So Tobias mentioned that the redemption of humanity needs planning, as the pure ritualistic manifestations of men solve absolutely nothing. So even so, many folks leave the Center of Messengers prepared, well-trained, but then they fail because on Earth, in full activity, they start to interpret difficulties as punishments and try to get rid of them. So few succeed, since we are all still linked to the criminal past, which deforms our personality. So talking about difficulties, yeah, we do all the planning. Those folks, they do all the planning. They know what is, ahead of them. But then once they are here, they face so many facts in their reality, challenges about their life over here on Earth, but also challenges related to their spiritual path. And evidently, not all of them succeed. And speaking about difficulties, when I was reading that, I recalled about, since we are talking about Chico, and this book is from Chico, but basically all the mediums that I can think of right now, they didn't have an easy life. It was very, very hard life. But talking about Chico, yeah, he had several issues, several challenges, very hard challenges from all kind of nature, financially, physically. His health was very poor. Everything that he wanted to do, evidently, it was not easy because he needed support, he needed resources. Anyway, all kind of challenges. But Chico took those challenges as a preparation for the upcoming challenges. So especially in his early life, as he was facing a lot of criticism and such, so he didn't give up because he believed that yeah, it was all preparation for whatever was in his future. And also the other thing that he had a very good idea is that all those difficulties, not all of them, but some of them, they were result of the law of cause and effect. In his mind, he was harvesting from what he did seed one day, right? So that's how he was able to overcome challenge after challenge after challenge. And at the end of the day, until the very last day of his life, he was there. He was able to succeed in his mission. And so the chapter 4 talks about Vicente's story. So Leda would like to cover that.
I thought I would speak about Octavio. You're going chapter by chapter, or
yeah.
Because Vicente's story, he was a doctor, like Andre Luiz, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they shared experiences, because as we were saying last week, Andre Luiz was learning also through higher conversations. So this change of experiences meant a lot to him. So his friend Vicente was a doctor too, and he was married on Earth. And then Andre Luiz was complaining about how difficult it was for him to lose his wife, to leave her on Earth, and then now she has a second husband. And then Vicente was telling him that he had been through much worse, because his wife here, his wife on Earth, had fallen in love with his brother, I guess.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, you put it there. She has fallen in love with his brother, and he was a doctor that worked with research, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she used to help him with research, with his work as a scientist. And then when she fell in love with his brother, they both decided to kill him, to be together. So as she had this skill with the poisons and things like that, she poisoned him. And
yeah, it's important to mention that Vicente and his wife, they had this laboratory, right?
yeah, they had this laboratory where they worked together with the research that he had, right?
Yeah, and
then
then she knew how to manipulate the bacteria and
yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
And that's how she succeeded and contaminating.
She and his brother killed him, and that was devastating for him, because not only he was betrayed, but he was killed in the most,
He was very
selfish
young,
way possible, right?
And he was very young, right? So I mean,
and he had a promising life with as a scientist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Andre Luiz asks him if they had been punished if the murder were discovered, and he says that no, they live life very happily, and they live life as nothing has happened, and society has them in the best concept. And that's something that sometimes we don't understand about the law of cause and effect, that it is not immediate. It's not so fast as we wish it would hurt. It would hit people very fast, but it doesn't. So he was still trying to forgive them and trying to process that. And he felt so miserable because the consequences hadn't been put down yet. Maybe Luis wants to comment on that, the law of cause and effect, because sometimes some people, they live here on earth doing evil and doing very selfish things and making people suffer and hurting people, and they are still having a normal life and they are still kind of happy. Do you want to say something?
That, oh, sorry.
Go on, Anna, go on.
Yeah, I just want to say that in that regards, there is a very nice thing that Vicente says, because when Andre Luiz was hearing that, and then he said, okay, so what about revenge? Are you not angry? And then Vicente says, no, he would not consider revenge, like, and on his own words, since evil is the simple result of ignorance and nothing more. So it is amazing that, even though he experienced, being betrayed and, the betrayal and all the stuff, but he didn't hold in his heart any bad feelings about it, because he understood that, what his wife and his brother did was just out of ignorance. If they knew better, then they would not do that. And that was a very good lesson to Andre Luiz, because until that point, I mean, how many years passed? It was like 11 years or so, and there was Andre Luiz complaining about his marital life and feeling so sorry for himself, because evidently he understood, but he was still talking about it. It was something that's still in his mind, and he was still talking about it. And then he listened to somebody explaining, talking about the story even more heavy, hard than his, and that person didn't hold any bad feelings. But speaking about law of cause and effect, later when he said, okay, so it's not so fast, I think is a mercy that cause and effect is not so fast, because it gives time for whoever is doing the wrongdoing, to think better and repent and try to fix that, right? So I think is a mercy that law of cause and effect is not so fast. Sorry, Luis, go ahead, please.
Yes, I agree with you. That's it's a merciful thing, right? Because imagine if we were to pay our debts at the end of every day, every bad thought, every bad feeling that you cast on anybody else. At the end of the day, you felt the consequences of that. We'll be in a clinic or in a hospital every weekend, right? So life is very merciful indeed. But one thing is good for us to look at is the necessity of our heart to be, and not to be hardened, and not our conscience not to be frozen. It's a very dangerous situation to have a hardened heart. As Jesus Christ would say, the Spirit say that, because if they are very happy, like they were very happy, this couple, but with no remorse, with no feeling of discomfort, it means that they were very hardened and very frozen in terms of conscience, right? And to have a hardened heart and a frozen conscience means dynamite in the future to break that heart of heart, right? To move that heart. So we need to learn how to feel compassion, how to feel mercy for others. And because the word yesterday, I spoke a little bit in a spiritual center about that, was about the Aryan people commented by Emmanuel in his book On the Way to the Light, right? That they were the rebellious people, and we, right, Western people, we bought the idea, right? We like that, and it's a way to harden the heart very much. For us to do what we have to do, we harden the heart, and it's very dangerous because there's an author here in Brazil called Hermínio Miranda. He says that in this way, we find ourselves at the end of the day in a circle of fire. We harden our heart, but to break this ice, we need to cross the circle of fire, which hurts, and we don't want that. So the more we delay this passage, the more our heart hardens, and the more we will have to suffer to go through that fire again and be back to our first love that Jesus Christ said in the Revelation book. You need to go to your first love, right? To start feeling again, to feel compassion. How can we feel compassion if we don't feel? We are more rational than anything, right? So this is a very important point indeed.
Yeah, this chapter called my attention exactly because of that. Because even though Andre Luiz, he passed through inner transformation, he was learning, he was on the way, but he was still talking about, his ex-wife and, his family. It was still painful to him.
Very often, Andre Luiz was kind of called the attention because of this, because he was a doctor, very curious, and sometimes he was very cold in his curiosity, and he wanted to know about some stuff, and the guide said, Andre Luiz, we are doing charity here. We are trying to help. I know you are curious. I know you are a scientist. You are a doctor, but that's not now, right? This is not for. So and this was one of the hardest defects he had to correct at the beginning of this series of books. Some people came to him and said, "Look." Once he was approaching a woman that had just arrived from the lower zones, and he affected, right, charity. He affected that he was really interested in her problem. No, he was interested in her story, in the woman's story, not her problem. He didn't want to help her. And people, the guides, right, observed that, look, you're being very rational. You're being very curious, but that's not being good, right? So you're gonna learn here now how to be good, right? How to be really worried about people.
Yeah.
There we go.
Awesome. So, okay, so I'm not sharing. Start sharing again. Okay, now is Otavio's downfall leader. So if you want to read, just to recall what the chapters.
So this chapter emphasizes the extent of mediumship responsibilities and warns about the harmful consequences for the medium who prefers idleness to difficult work with mediumship. Otavio reports the reason for his fall as a medium after 30 years of preparation in Astral City. He reincarnates with a plan to remain single in order to dedicate himself fully to the established program. That is, to use mediumship to console creatures and adopt 6 orphan children. But he lets himself be deceived by materialistic ambitions and a disproportionate desire for sex. He also marries by violence, forgetting the commitment with his mentors that the consortium was not in his program in that existence. The constant revolts, complaints, and lamentations turn him in with the shadows, so he settles down to doubting and criticizing the performance and the support of the invisible. His wife and son began to torment him. Defeated by alcohol, he disincarnates, stricken with syphilis at the age of 40, and no good done in this whole time. Desperate and repentant on the spiritual plane, Otavio heard from his mother Isaura, Jesus does not fail us with the blessing of time. Be calm and courageous. So yeah, Otavio was the first medium that Andre Luiz meets in the Ministry of Communications, right? And he says that when he was here on Earth, he didn't know mediums, he didn't know the importance of this work. And now, as he was in Astro City, he started to be in contact with mediums and to understand the importance of this work, of the spiritism, and of this this interchange with the spiritual world, right?
Mhm.
And then the first one that and then he gets to know that most mediums they have been prepared in Astral City to reincarnate. So they don't come here without warnings, without lessons, without examples. So when they come, they have a preparation, and most of them fail. Some complete parts of the work, but most of them fail because it's not easy to have a commitment when you forget, when you are free to have your own decisions and you forget the importance of what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
So he had a very bad before this reincarnation, this one that we've read about. He had made many mistakes, and he had been done a lot of evil for a lot of people, and he was rescued in the spiritual plane, in the lower zones. He had been rescued, and he was taken to Astro City, and he was helped mostly by the 6 spirits that had supported him in Astro City, that were like Andre Luiz in the movie. He was kind of sponsored by Claricio. And just in the end of the book, that he becomes a citizen of Astro City. That was the same with Otavio. He wasn't a citizen of Astro City by his own accomplishments. He was sponsored by the 6 spirits. So having adopting them as orphans would be not only a way of showing them gratitude for what they have done for him, but also would prevent him from making the same mistakes all over again. And then when his father died, and his stepmother died as well, and the orphans were needing him, or when they needed him, he abandoned them and got involved with this woman, which she was a spirit much less evolved than he was. And he brought to the marriage this by the connection, by the mental connection. She had a mental connection with another spirit that was very how can I say, he was not evolved as well. They both had a connection, and so he says he was tormented through his whole life, because these spirits, they were there just because he abused them, and then he had to take responsibility for them, but not because they had
Oh, did we lose Leda?
a real connect. He went to the escapes. He wanted to escape from his duties and his commitments, and he failed. And then he didn't. It was a wasted opportunity, right?
Yeah, yeah, big time. Yeah. Thank you. Luis, you have a comment?
Yes, this part, I remember when I read this part was very young, and I decided to research a little bit throughout my life because they said here, I have the book open here in front of me. He said, the guide said to Andre, my dear Andre, you haven't considered the fact that this preparation in and of itself doesn't mean they'll be successful. Then he says, thousands of qualified messengers live here, but the ones who actually succeed are rare indeed. And I was a witness of that, maybe with myself, but I've seen working in the spiritual centers and talk to many Brazilian people, because I think this program was very related to Brazil and the spiritism in Brazil, the program of messengers in Natural City. And lots of people had great mediumship. Lots of people in Brazil had great capacity. But even the spiritist presidents used to say, no, go take care of your profession, have a family, do your job first, and then if you have some time, one day you come back to the spiritist center and devote yourself. The people never came back, right? So this was something that the focus was a little bit wrong, because many people, I saw young people with great mediumship, xenoglossy, psychometry, many kinds of mediumship, psychophony, right? Trans mediumship, but they had to study and work in Brazil. For you to make a little money, you have to work more, you have to be more dedicated to things. And this was something terrible because people didn't dedicate and they lost, many people lost great opportunity, just like this guy here, for example. They went into physical world and only alone and didn't devote themselves. So I've seen many cases like that in Brazil that people, I remember once a doctor, he was a young doctor, he was a very good medium. And he said to me, Serge, I'm leaving the spiritual center. Why? Because I need to get married, I need to make money, I need to do this, I need to do that. But as soon as I am stable, I'll be back. I've heard this so many thousands of times, and people didn't ever come back in the future because the commitments grow and grow and grow and grow. And that's the end of it. So many people were clearly messengers from Astral City. Olivia wants to speak.
Yeah. When I read that too, we were thinking together, wow, thousands of messengers. And then we were remembering someone we had knew like that. And I once remember I had a friend, and she had out of body experiences. She had so many mediumship. So and she didn't want to dedicate. She said, I'm not going to read any books about it. I don't want to go to any spirit center. I just want to live a normal life. And she had this kind of experience spontaneously. She didn't dedicate to it. And we knew so many mediums like that in Brazil that didn't want even to dedicate to mediumship, even if they didn't want to go to spirit center or to be anything else, but they didn't want even to think about spiritual life. And most of them came with mediumship, as the spirit said, thousands of them. They could not be all successfully in these programs, or they promised to be, but they could have been
at least to be aware of the situation. Yes. And many things happen. And that's, of course, that's exactly what the Spirit says, that thousands come, but rare, right? He says, some manage to accomplish their task partially, but most fail completely, right? Because the ranks of medium and instructors live here, or ranks of mediums and instructors live astral city for the physical world with special training, because benefactors in the higher realms need selfless, altruistic mediums in order to enhance humankind's redemption. And this selfless and altruistic medium had already been established in Brazil as a culture. So it was a great opportunity for them to send thousands of people prepare for that. But when and then he continues, but when the messengers forget their missionary spirit and their dedication to their fellow beings, they usually become worthless instruments. Just as there are plows and farmers, there are mediums and mediumship, doctrinal instructors and doctrine. A farmer may own an excellent plow, but if he lacks the desire to use it, the only thing the plow will produce is rust.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Luis. Leda, please.
And this preparation that they have in the spiritual world, it becomes, after they die, it becomes a burden, because in the beginning of the chapter, not Vicente, Otavio, he says to Andre Luiz, you think you failed as a doctor, but you didn't know, you didn't have this knowledge about the spiritual world. You didn't have this preparation that we had. And then when we have this preparation, we have all this this background, and we fail, it's twice as painful, you know. It's twice the burden that you carry in yourself. So when Livia was saying, I was remember another friend of ours, which she has a gift, a rare gift of mediumship, and she just doesn't want it. She only shares with people that when she's obliged to, when things start going wrong in her house, and then she asks for help, and then she turns to this part of her life. But normally she just wants to work, and she's a very successful nutritionist and a teacher in the university. So she wants to have the glory of working, and that's where she feels comfortable. But then she's wasting such a gift and such an opportunity, and that will come back to her later, you know.
Yeah, no doubt. As you guys were talking, I recall a friend of mine who was talking to me this morning, and she's a medium, and then she was talking for the third time that, oh, I don't know, I got to the point in my life that something is missing, and I was saying, I wonder what that is. Because she like you said, Leda, she has a gift, but she doesn't want to develop that. She doesn't want to work on it. Well, however, yes. I must say that Luis was talking about, well, some president of the Spirit Center, until today, Luis, they are doing this. They're turning their backs to folks who are struggling, because, you know, sometimes if you have this gift of the mediumship and they were not working on it, sometimes you get tormented, right? Is a burden in your life, because it will not stop just because you don't want it, right?
Yeah. And there are so many cases, so many people that we could be here on and on talking hours about these people. I remember now once a girl, a lawyer, what a mediumship the woman has. She had a mediumship, and she was beaten by the spirits, right? They took her out of her body and beaten by them, and she fought the spirits. And I remember once that she had left an office, a law office, because she saw a horde of spirits, of lower level spirits, coming together with a new client of the office.
Wow.
And the spirits came with the guy, and her boss kind of fell in love with the guy. The boss liked the guy very much because the guy was bringing a lot of money. But she said that after that, the spirits knew she was a medium. So they started pursuing her in the office. She had to, when they arrived, she had to go to the bathroom and she couldn't come back to work, right? Come out to work, you know. So she was really in a very dangerous situation. And she said that office now is going down the pipes because the spirits are there to destroy him, to destroy. But my boss doesn't know that. But my thinks the guy is lovely because it's bringing a lot of money. And it really happened in the future. So she was a great medium. And I remember once that she came here to my house. We had dinner together. And she was, of course, in trouble with some spirits. And then she left. While she left, I was talking to people, and I threw some cracks about Napoleon Bonaparte, right? Something like this. Then the telephone rings, and she said, "Luiz Sérgio, have you spoken anything about Napoleon Bonaparte?" I said, "Really? Yes. I mean, just a joke. Don't tell this joke because the spirit that is usually with me, he's from his time. He's fanatic for Napoleon." So he took it very seriously and he attacked you. Yes, I started feeling bad after dinner, right? And it was his attack. And he was calling me, "Please don't say near the spirit anything about Napoleon because he's really a very fanatic spirit for." So this is Brazil, hundreds of mediums like this.
Examples, yeah.
But, right, and then I remember the messenger saying thousands of people were prepared, but
she knew about spiritism.
She knew about spiritism.
Very
she knew,
much.
yes, very much. But
And once one friend of us told her, "You should go to a spirit meeting. You should help the spirits, these spirits that are pursuing you." And she said, "No, I don't."
No, I don't want to deal with it. Yes, I have a lot to do. I'm a lawyer, right? So,
We all have something to do.
okay. Well, that's it. Let everyone.
Sounds good. Now, okay, so Leda, anything else on Otavio's experience?
No, that's it,
That's
I
it?
think.
So the chapter 19 talk about the breath, and I specifically picked this one up because it's not that it was a big surprise to me, but it was very, very revealing. It was like an aha moment when I became aware and I had, a very good description of what this healing breath is about. So the summary of this chapter informs about the magnetic qualities of healing breath. Alfredo, that's the character talking about it, requests that Aniceto, Andre Luiz, and Vicente stay overnight at the outpost, which is a place in the lower realm that supports, spirits in transition to a treatment or something. So Alfredo asked those guys to stay and cooperate in the assistance service by the healing breath to the brothers in need, and clarifies about the magnetic properties of the breath as calming, invigorating, stimulating, and healing. Alfredo also mentions that there is a need for the ideal physical and moral conditions for those who intend to apply the healing breath in the service of good. He informs that the technique is used in Astro City and in the outpost, but brothers who exercise for a long time acquiring experience at the high price. So I saw this is not in this book, is known by several people, and I can only imagine they say acquiring experience at a high price just because it demands a lot of discipline It demands a lot of attention and dedication of whoever is eager to pursue that route. So, in the own words from the book, on the carnal level or physical realm, every month with holy intention can provide appreciable help, noting, however, that generals and pure mouths will be able to distribute divine help, transmitting vital fluids of health and comfort. So this was very nice. So Leda, you want to comment anything?
Just because we were talking about a lot mediums, and it's not just about mediums, but the spiritual work. So it involves the hands-on healing workers. It involves
any role.
Yeah, anyone, even the ones who talk to spirits. The responsibility. We have all been prepared to understand the spiritual laws and to understand how the spiritual world works. And this is a responsibility for all of us, even those who are not those of us who were not mediums, in the sense of seeing the spirits and channeling the spirits, you know.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, I had the privilege to receive, how can I say, a note kind of telling me, giving me some directions, because I was not supposed to stop and just give up, especially after all the trainings I had. That's okay. So I had to close my mouth, and just, okay, let's go. Keep on doing. Luis, please.
It's Leda first.
Oh, she.
Oh, she's already spoken. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that. I usually use this kind of technique with the help of spirits in spiritist, mystic circles, right? I think I've already used with Livia, Leda, very much, haven't I? And it's very good to help cleaning the atmosphere, psychosphere of a medium, while the medium is trying to get rid of those bad fluids due to a manifestation of a spiritual need. So it's very useful. And of course, in my case, I need the help of the spirits to do this kind of work in the mystic circle.
So Luis, would you say that this is a type of mediumship, or is just a technique?
A technique, yes. I think it's a technique, so everybody can develop it, I think, right? And the word spirit comes from the Greek, I think, right? It means blowing, or the air, right? Being blown. And that's why sometimes in the scriptures there's a confusing interpretation and translation when Jesus says the spirit can blow everywhere, right? So the spirit blows, the spirit, and expirate, right? When you say expirate, expire, right, means blow. Okay, that's it. Gloria.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. I guess because I took Reiki classes. Is this like healing, only you're using the breath, you're using spirit through the breath for healing purposes? Is this okay?
Yeah. So
it says brothers who exercise for a long time, is that like who practice the breathing for a long time? And it says acquiring experiences. What is a high price? In other words, they had to go through a lot of life lessons to be authorized or empowered to do it?
they need to pay attention to what they talk, what they eat, you know, how they behave. They have to be very disciplined,
Mhm.
Okay.
very
Yes.
focused,
That makes
and
sense.
really, and that discipline is not talking about, okay, so pay attention to what you speak. It's about the words, it's about the feelings in their heart and their thoughts. So can you imagine you having that discipline, so you know exactly, you keep under control what you speak, your feelings and your thoughts. So it's a lot of discipline.
Actually, and I think even the people who practice the hands-on healings, right? They go
Oh
kind
yeah.
of to the same thing, but hands-on healing, as it does, you're not talking about coming from the inner side of your body. You can be.
Yeah.
I remember
So
once I
in
went
the
to.
book they say, you know, for the incarnated people, if you are doing this, pay attention to what you eat, because it
Yeah,
comes from, yeah,
from the stomach.
from your guts. Yeah.
I remember hands-on healing once. I was not okay. I went to a spirit center and they gave me hands-on, but I felt worse, right? When I was leaving the spirit center, the people who gave me this kind of applied me the hands-on healing, they asked me if I wanted a ride. I was going down the street. Oh, would you like a ride because it's late at night? So they gave me a ride in their car, and the girl, a woman who had given me, applied me the hands-on healing, she said, I don't know how I could do this today because yesterday I drank so much. So I started right cleaning myself in the rear seat of the car, right? But my good, that's why I felt so bad with that hands-on healing
People,
because
yes.
she she forgot
So
she had assisted me,
to,
right?
yeah.
So it's
So
not just intentionality, it's also it's more involved than just, in other words, her intention was to heal you, but she
Mhm.
hadn't
Not
been,
prepared.
she had
She was
not
not
prepared
prepared.
herself. Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
Wow.
This is
yeah.
that's why you need in a spirit center responsible people that can clarify the situation. The person can be a healing medium, but if this healing medium is not taking care of her life or their body, it can be harmful, right?
Can be
So
harmful. Yeah, that's why
that's a
they
plus for me.
say you should not drink. You should if prior to that, you should not drink. You should not eat red meat, for example, or eat meat. You should not eat a lot. You have to be very frugal, right? So yeah.
Yeah, this kind of healing, it remembers me. I don't know if you have this habit there. A mother who blows son when he hurts.
No, how we get when you get hurt,
And
we blow away.
we kiss,
Yeah,
and this great intention to heal. Maybe
yeah,
sometimes really heals.
yes.
That's nice. Okay, so when I was reading that, I recall this movie. Have you guys watched this movie by chance, The Green Mile? Yeah, it's a very nice. Remember, that scene that he was. I mean, it's the opposite, because he was kind of absorbing all the energy, right? So that's how he was able to heal people. Evidently, it's this story is a fiction, but it's based on facts that, you know, happened many times. So the whole story is a fiction, but it's based on things that actually happened. So I just got you know, the scene.
It's all right, Al. It's all right. Here, watch. Just watch.
This guy is a
Call me
prisoner,
pig fuck.
and this is the wife of the guy in charge of that prison.
Why do you have so many scars? I hurt you so badly.
Don't hardly remember, man.
What's your name?
Giant coffee man. Like to drink. Only not spelled the same. Man.
Yes, John Kobe.
I see it. I see it.
What?
You be still now. You be so quiet, so still.
So it's a very nice movie. Oh, sorry. And yeah, if you didn't watch that, I recommend you. It's a very nice one. But anyways, it's a little bit different, but that's what recall me. Is definitely one of the techniques for healing, right? Luis, this is about the chapter you want to talk about.
Yes, but I think we should go now, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I didn't see the time passing by. Okay, so next Saturday then we meet and we continue from here. There's not a whole lot to cover, but yeah, sounds good. All right then. So guys, see you next Saturday, and then I think it's gonna be yeah, no, we still have a few Saturdays, yeah, a couple Saturdays before September.
By the way, before going, let me tell you something, Giles. Giles, the voltage here is 110 volts. 127, 1027, 100